Right, we should be live, but I'm just going to check on YouTube, make sure it's up. 1 second. Amazing. Just wanted to make sure it's all working before we set off and start. Right, 1 second. Right, yep, we are live. It's all working. So, welcome to another Liquid Bullet production. Join us today is Susan Devere, psychic medium, and we've also got Brian Rolfe, Craig Rolfe's brother, who was part of the Essex murders. So, I'm going to kick off with Susan. Can we just get a little bit of your background, please, Susan?
Hello, guys. A bit of my background. I'm the longest serving spiritual channel for the elite, for the spiritual world as you will know it. I've done over 60 years, I'm afraid to say. I work on two sides of the coin. One is for the general public, so most of anyone who is listening will know me from doing TV shows, to doing stage tours, to doing radio programs, the lot in that respect. The other side, which has been kept hidden for an awfully long time, is the fact that I am working for the elite, have done since the 80s in my line of work due to the fact of my ability. And so from way back in the day, I laid down Agenda 21, which you're all living under, which President George Bush Sr. signed off to the world. I worked on the Twin Towers to do with the ones that lost their lives in the Pentagon. I've done stuff on the Frederick West case. I've done murders cases as well as on the Ipswich as well. And that is one level to do with the elite. The other level is to bring in world events. So I will predict XYZ that is coming to us all here. Working from the program, what we all are, and you'll know it as the name of Soul, but it's an actual program. And also walking on the timeline, which is something else. So most of the spiritual movement that you will know will have no bearing factors to what I step into on the elite side. So that's the short version of it all. Hopefully that's a lot to take under your belt. And I've had my ability ever since I've been born. So it hasn't been a pathway I would have chosen for myself. It just happened. Just happened.
That's great. Susan, I'm just going to jump in there. So when me and Roy first come to see you, obviously, you know, we'd never met you before. It's the first time you met us. And you was bang on. You picked up on me and Roy. We both had certain health issues at that time. And you basically told us exactly what was going on. And you was 100% right. So as soon as you got that information to me, you got my attention. So I'm ready for another one.
Right. Okay. Well, all of our lives work on a program, Roy. I mean, Lee, sorry. And it's what's not been taught to all the psychics and the mediums out there is how to enter into it, how to get the information out. So when I'm working on serious stuff, I need to be precise in what I'm saying. So you'll see out there in the world, you'll see all of the spiritual world is roughly gobbledygook. It's been placed in the entertainment line for an extremely long time now. Wasn't once, a very long time ago, when it was real, a long time ago. And now they've pushed it into the entertainment, so to make it not serious and to get the channels, the mediums, the psychics out there not knowing their art in any which way. So it's just as it's gone.
Yeah. Susan, can I just start off with, obviously you've looked into sort of murders and sort of that sort of killings and stuff. How did that first happen for you? How did that first sort of come to light?
Well, I'd already been approached to do Agenda 21. And so all of my connections back in the time there were all quite high profile people. And I ended up being married. I'm not married now, but I ended up, and I was married to a top copper back in the day. So to do with all of the things in this country, you'll see that the police don't want to entertain people like psychics or mediums to do with anyone who's, you know, lost their life. And yet it's a very quick way in, because it's the dead know exactly, obviously, what's happened to them and who did X, Y, Z. So it's always been a case to grab hold of the dead first, to find out the exact truth, and then follow it in from there. So that's roughly, it was the people around me, because it wasn't something, as I've said, it was a case that I didn't want to go looking for such a thing. Why would anyone want to work in such a field? And it literally started to flow from the moment the very first incident of the dead person stepped in. I realized that I could open up lots of different levels, that where you'll see the community of all the police forces across the world, they can only go, and it takes time. And, you know, you can have a dead person stood there telling you X, Y, Z. So if I'm correct on what they're saying, then I knew that I could bring information to the table to resolve cases. So in respect to cold cases, because I think from the last time we spoke, you know, I had all the stuff to do with the craze and all that. And where the cold cases are, where the program sits, you need to be able to get into the code to bring them back out again. Because obviously once you die, you should be gone from here, from this realm. That's how it's programmed. And that's roughly how it should be. You've had a life here, you're gone, that's the end of you, unless there is a reason or a rhyme to make connection. So it was the people I know, really, that were placed around me. That's how I would do it. Otherwise, I try, you know, it's a pointless exercise. Otherwise, trying to get into it for other psychics, mediums, even if they pick up a dead person. And years ago, I did a BBC series because they saw me as this psychic detective sort of thing. And it was quite sorrowful back then. I'd like to think they've made it better. I'm not too sure they have, you know, the media, because they just rubbish everything that this sort of stuff does. Where I've seen it, it really benefits the dead as well as the living. It brings closure. When you lose someone here on in life, it's the worst thing you're ever going to go through. And yet, you know, these psychics and medium across the world who have connections can help. It's just finding the right person to go in through the door. So that's it, really.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump back a little bit. So when you're saying about use, like with cases, I've seen in America, they sometimes use psychics in America, don't they, to help with the cases. Yeah. But they do not do that in England, or is that something they have?
Well, we're a different breed here in England. We've got a stiff upper lip, and around the world, this stuff is used in lots of different ways due to how they perceive it all. So in the States, it's quite open to lots of ventures to go in here, there, and everywhere in it, you know. Here, the police will shut you down if they think that you're walking in front of them or you've got information that they couldn't find, you know. It's how the whole system has been set up to bring this into the entertainment field. That's what I mean when when I just said it's stuck in a rut. The psychics, the channels, the mediums need to know so much more to help the general public, because they are serving between the two realms here. And what's occurred, they've only been able to serve to some form of ability. It's okay to say you've got someone here, so I'll give it, say, like the name of John, but in respect to us as humans, there are billions of Johns, right? And in respect to the dead, there are billions and trillions and centuries of old of them. So when a psychic or a medium picks up a dead person, the one thing that actually took me into the heavy stuff was I could see quite openly that all of this psychic world, or the afterlife and all this, there was something terribly wrong with it, because the dead were not coming through saying what the dead should be saying, which is, I'm John, I died at, say, 80 odd. This is where I used to live. This is what I died of, X, Y, Z. If you've lived here on Earth for, well, say 80 years, you know who you are. And yet you will find that 99.9% of psychics out there will not get anything in that level. And I could see quite early on there was something amiss here, massively. And I could see then that what we were living under as humans here on Earth, something also was terribly wrong. And so from a very young age, I started turning stones and could see there was masses of stuff here that was not right. Not just in the establishment that you'll see it, to do with political stuff or our normal everyday 24/7 life, but massive history that wasn't correct. And so that's where me stepping into the big stuff roughly took me, because I needed to find the truth. If I was going to talk to a dead person, I needed to be sure this was a dead person who had gone through to heaven and was coming back through to talk to me, to tell me something. And so that's roughly what has taken me since the 80s to turn. So since the pandemic, they threw me out in respect to tell me to tell the world to open my mouth now. So it's only been since that December 19 where I was pushed to the fore, told the world what was coming, told you all it was a massive hoax, told you all not to take the vaccine because what was in the vaccine. And so on that, everything went then shoom, right across the earth. So everything that I lay down trickles itself out there, and that's roughly it. So what I had decided to do a very long time ago to find the truth for us here was actually to step into it, because what I was seeing, there was nobody around in the 80s anyway who was talking on anything. Humanity was just bobbling along there. And it was only roughly when I put down that Agenda 21, I could see what they were going to do to humanity. And it was from that I decided to be able to help humanity, I needed to step in to get it out. And so that's what I've been under ever since.
Susan, can I just ask you, what is Agenda 21 you're mentioning there?
Agenda 21, my darling, is the way that the governments of the world are going to control the whole world. It's going to control everything, to where you live, to what you eat, to how you work, to how they discipline you, every single aspect. It's already started. They started it from 2012, actually. So, and it's what it is in the short form. It's a depopulation of humanity. There is far too many here, and they want a lot of you gone, a huge amount of you gone. So just by doing the first step, which what they have got control of is to bring fear to the people. So that's their main attachment. Any which way they can drop fear in to frighten you, it is border on a massive thing where you couldn't see it coming. So where the pandemic stepped in, as you'll see and know, the fear factor was so good and great, humanity rushed and went and got a vaccine. Now, 5 years later, those that took the vaccine, if you're still alive, all well and good, but what is within the vaccine is chemical AI connections into the bloodstream. So where it was made and how it was portrayed, you all think that what took effect in coming to December 19 was shown to you as a real thing, and in respect it wasn't real at all. So they know the tactics of your program. So you'll know the name of Soul. It's a program. It's an AI piece of machinery, which you are, which you have come from a major source, which controls every aspect of you. This is why now you are born to die. So when you come into being, you've got X, Y, Z of time on your timeline, and then you're gone. Now, that always wasn't the case. The case was that you were given everlasting life, not eternal life. So when some years ago, I was asked to go and do a big TV series on all of this, and we went out to few people who do what I do, you know, in respect, and none of them could understand the simplicity of the things I was just asking them, which was, as a human race, you speak about this thing called soul, so tell me where it lays in you. So apart from the field of the spiritual and the religious, nobody could pinpoint where this so-called thing lies. Now, when you get to these levels of simplicity, because the controllers of our world control us for one reason, because they know we haven't worked anything out as yet. We are starting to. So where you've got historians, they have noted that on the timeline here, there's two massive big things that have occurred because the history of us does not add up. There is massive gaps. So they know something has occurred here. They also know that in reality, as we live these 24/7s, we are living a life for what reason? Because you're born to die. So every day you get up, you're another day, moment, closer to death. So what would be the point of you? So where I work from, where I'd stepped into the big stuff, not only do I have to contend with humans, but I also contend with aliens. So the connections to do with the intelligence services that you wouldn't know have had the alien species in and upon this realm for eons of time, have given a huge amount of stuff to humanity. And where you are sitting now, the reason why they're pushing and all was on this Agenda 21 is that you're all behind to do with the AI stuff. So now you've got them all pushing and saying, you know, we've got to go towards the AI, because what they want to do is to attach everything that you are and you have got so that it all can be controlled, so that it can be monitored to the breathing, to whatever you do in your day, to however you will work. So it's a massive control thing that is coming for you all. Now, the AI to me is not new. So when I speak on things to do with Agenda 21 and the soul and the controllers of this realm here, it all locks itself into one, because the soul is this almighty program, and all they did with the fax theme, it's like me sticking in a stick in my computer and downloading something. So that's what's happened. So now the program to what was in the fax vaccine, it is on a timeline. What happens, it just switches onto something else. So you'll see right now, right across the earth, you've got millions that have died due to taking the vaccine. You have got huge amount of people with cancer now. So this is why within all of what has gone, humanity is walking into stuff that they can't see. They cannot see because they don't know where it's come from. And when they try to work it out, because it's so enormous, what you're seeing at this moment in time, you're seeing people who are having their feathers ruffled or are seeing things that aren't right on the earth and running after it to try to either politically change something or politically get into something to change it. And of course, that's only on one level. So where I'm working from, I work way above all of that. So we're talking about the main contenders that control this realm, because it's like a pyramid. You start at the top and it all drops itself down. So I'm sitting somewhere about the third, fourth down, because the information I have to put out, I have to read the timeline, which is something else that nobody's ever looked at or thought of. And yet you sit here on Earth with the Hadron Collider. Now, the Hadron Collider, two machines in it. They've only told you there's one, but there's two. And they have created time travel, because when you can walk on time, and the reason why they use me, and there's 5 of me, us, like me, is because when you can see what's coming in time, then you can control it. You can control what the outcome becomes. On that, they can control every single thing. So where you're all walking as humanity, you're going into massive AI and you're going into massive science. So where you've got all the things breaking down out there on the everyday life, from the farmers to dear old Trump, it's all being placed to tick along on the timeline as they want it to go. So the outpouring of Agenda 21 is to get XYZ of you off the planet, which is happening. And also because it's working, this is why you've got your media who do not talk about anything. Because everything's
Susan, can I just ask you there, when you mentioned timeline, what is a timeline? What are we talking about
right there? The time for us is conscious thought, right? So we're sitting in the here and now, but when I go back into the program, what there is, this has already happened, because I cannot read the future unless it's happened, because otherwise it wouldn't be. So I could not see it, because conscious time for us is conscious thought. So where you are, all of us here, the life you are living, you have had over and over and over again. Because that goes on to something else, then why it's become like this. Because when you look back through history, you will see, even if you take the religious scriptures of the world, you will note that all of those in the Old Testament were living to be 400, 500 years old. I think Elijah made over 1,000. So these are not a different species, they are us. And yet, why is it we've only got 80 and they had all of that? So they know where the history of us lies, and the archaeologists that have found stuff, they know who's created this system and what went wrong, and how we have been placed under a system where this realm we live on, now known as the prison planet, it's stuck in a realm where it's repeating itself for a reason. And those that are controlling it is way back at the very beginning of the creation of what humanity is. So where everything shifted there, it was taken control in another way, so that the species that we are, and we're known as now, we're known as the children of the Nephilim. And due to that, that's the reason why we've got the life we have. I've worked with all this intelligent information for years and years. And the one thing I could see with alien races, and I know it's completely new to humans because that Trump hasn't divulged this yet, but he's going to have to because of where you're all walking. So where anything from off this realm comes into being, you will see that they live forever, which was how it was placed for us. We were to have everlasting life. So where we've ended up with this eternal life and this repeating pattern, live, die, repeat stuff, where they could see that that was the only way to control us, that is what we live under as a sin, and it's not our sin. It belongs elsewhere. So we've taken on board a life pattern that has trapped us here, totally. And the only way to free ourselves is what has been the reason why they've pushed me into opening and saying stuff. But it goes on and on. The digger you deep, the more you're going to get. So it all depends on how much you really want me to say here. Because where I'm at now, where I'm at right now, we have got to the point where we sit on the timeline, where the world is going as it is all over the shop, right? Like Looney Tunes, is because you get a period of time where the timelines shift and it becomes an opening for the other realms to step into this realm. And this is what has been going on for a bit of time. So you've got a lot of alien races interrupting into our realm to feed what you will see being your politicians, because as you would note it, as it's written in scripture, the gods will go up against each other. And how it will fall, it falls down through the levels and onto the heads of man. So this is why you've got the Israeli war. This is why you've got the Ukrainian war. This is why humanity's life is so hard. And it was never meant to be like this. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, a little bit. Gone a little bit over my head. Some of it quite deep, but
I mean,
yeah.
where, you know, across the earth, you've got so many people talking about things that aren't right. I think they've given them lots of little names like conspiracy theories and whatever that is. But you'll see that the things that are occurring are real, because the idea is that they don't mind a few of you knowing the truth. They just didn't want the whole masses of you knowing the truth, because a handful of you doesn't worry them at all, because they know humanity's makeup and they know you're no threat. So, you know, if you're going to go up against a political agenda or a situation or something happens out there in the world that you think is wrong, the only way you're going to change it is if there is more than just one of you. And if you can't see that, then it's a pointless exercise. Absolute pointless, because the one thing that happened on the shift, why we live as we live, is that you have no power. And that's why you're born to die. Right? I will tell you, the elite have power. Right? So the elites, all the elites, as you will call the elites, there's other elites way above that, but they all know the truth. So they all know where they've come from. They all know how the system works. And this is why they sit where they sit. And you'll see every single one of them will have gone through some form of ceremony. They will have joined some form of secret society, every single one of them. So looking right across all of your political agendas of who runs this country and X, Y, Z, they couldn't make it into that position unless they took on board a seal. And that's something that Joe Bloggs out there doesn't have. That's why you're no threat, because you have no power. So where these secret societies come in, they are controlling the underneath hand, or the hand up the puppet, so to speak, of the people that you're seeing back and forth on your TV screens, and who are controlling, as you will see, the world. So roughly, that's how it works. It's as simple as that.
When you say secret societies, Susan, what are we talking there? Like sort of Masons, or are you talking something bigger?
Well, you're talking from the Bilderberg to the Illuminati to the Masons, no matter what you would want to call it, because you get breakouts of smaller groups from bigger groups. What their main agenda is, they are worshipping their God. Now, most of humanity hasn't got a clue who their God is, right? Most of humanity don't go to church anymore. And most of humanity are just out for the life that they've got, this 24/7, and are quite happy to wander along the pathway knowing they're going to die. That in itself is totally wrong, because I can assure you, working in the other side of me, talking to the dead, as soon as you die, you're thrown back here on the program. And I have proven that, because I'm able to walk on the timeline, and I've gone back into the past, and I've found them still alive. So what I'd like to say to anyone listening, you really need to think on this. You are alive. You are going to die at some point. Susan comes along, right? And she picks you up on the timeline. One way you're in the so-called heaven, and then I travel back in time, and there you are. So how can you be dead? So you need to ask yourself, what the hell have they produced on this program to make you believe that you are walking into a heaven? Because the heaven you are walking into is not the heaven that is written in Holy Scripture. So if you go back to the beginning and the creation and all of that, that is true to a level, but it does not exist today. So this is why straight off I knew when the dead were walking in, none of the dead were saying to me, which I thought would have been the first thing any dead person should say, was, oh my God, this is so wonderful being here. Wait till you get here, you know. And of course, they weren't saying anything, nothing at all. And I thought, this is very weird. And because I'm so damn old, I came up in this with the old girls who had started this movement. And back in the day, what had happened, if you listened to what the dead were actually saying way back in the day, they used to keep coming through saying there was a rule book. And when I used to ask these old girls, why would you be coming through from heaven and saying there's a rule book here? I thought, hang on a minute, because, you know, the only thing we've ever had to go on as humans is a bit of religion here and a bit of God, isn't it? No matter who you got God, and to what was ever written. And so I listened intently to what actually the dead were trying to say in the odd bit. And I then started saying things. This is long before I got thrown out of places. Once I did start saying things, that it wasn't right. Nothing was right about it. And then I started maneuvering myself into, hang on a minute, there's something dreadfully wrong where we're all going. And that was when I started to get approached, because I wouldn't stop. I couldn't stop, actually. I needed to keep finding out where we're all going. And I found out that where we're all going isn't where you think you're going at all. And then that one thing led to another thing and another thing, and on it went. And that's why, you know, it all shifted into massive hidden stuff. And so, you know, where do you can't stop once you step into it, because there's so much. But my job was to tell the world. That's what they asked. And not many of them came and said, open your mouth, what you know. So what they did for me to keep me alive, they placed me under a seal. Otherwise I would be dead now because of what I know. Because to say what I know and to have working with me what I had working with me, all had to be released at the same time on the timeline at the right point. So it goes off in all levels of stuff. Some stuff is way too much, so people pull away, can't cope with it, because 24/7, this life is quite happily enough to get up in the morning and go to work. But for some people out there, they have an instinct to know something is dreadfully wrong for us here on earth, and it's going to get worse. You know, when I look on the timeline and I see, like Trump, for instance, coming into being, on his first, when I was told that he would do 2 terms and he did 1, and then Biden stepped in, I knew I know what I see is right. And sometimes with the time, I can either grab the bit of time as the moments fall, or it's slightly just to the right of it, because where the times thread on the timelines, they thread. So for instance, on the individual lives that we have, if you have a reading, for instance, it will work to bring in a dead person, and it will also bring in the information that you are. So I will pick up your program will come up in front of me, and I will read exactly like I'm sitting in front of a computer, because here you are, this is you. So I can tell you from which part of your family tree you've dropped in from at birth, which is something you all need to know, and to how your life and what you've inherited into the life, and how your life will fare, how to maneuver yourself through it, how to keep your wits on your shoulders, and how to keep smiling, and really how to see what you are doing on your daily run, and to realize you have done this thousands of times before, because you are Lee, I am Sue, we are trapped in this bit of time, and I have spoken to you like this for thousands of years probably, Lee, because we're trapped in this period of time which never goes. You can never erase time. So how can you be dead?
Susan, there's a few questions coming up in the comments there.
Right.
While you're sort of talking about this sort of stuff, there's a few about the Essex case. We'll get onto that in a minute. But while you're talking about that, while you're talking about this sort of stuff, there's a question just come up. It says, does Susan believe the world is flat? So while we're on this sort of stuff, I'm just going to ask that.
The world is flat. Yes, sorry. Yes, sorry. Yes, I do. We live in realms, right? So all of the dear old realm bit is not as you perceive it to be. I mean, please tell me that all of your listeners realize that the men never went to the moon. Please tell me that. There is so much information on that that's been leaked out there to do with our realms, right? So our realm being flat is true. What I would suggest that the people that are listening on these sort of levels, they need to look into the realms. There is 178 realms that have come down to 152, which are all sitting behind an ice wall. Now, the ice wall sits with us on this realm, our portal to these other realms is in the Antarctica. That's why you can't go down there, because you get shot, because there is a massive portal there where you will look up and you'll see the stars in the sky overnight and all that. We're actually under a dome. We're under 2 domes, actually. But they came about due to what the archaeologists, historians have found, due to the timeline breaks. And what happened there, it all stems back to the very beginning, where if I start there and to slowly walk in, it is a case that how it's written in scripture, right? So there was a war in heaven, and what happened, Lucifer was thrown out of heaven with his angels, right? That's how it's written. The truth of it being is that this realm belongs to Lucifer. This is why you will find every secret society is attached to Lucifer and is attached to Solomon's temple. You will see that running right the way through everything. This is why in present day today, you are married and you have a seal on your head when you take your marriage vows. That is probably for most of humanity, not knowing anything, that's probably your only seal, unless you've been christened. You will have a seal of your name placed with you there, right? Now, these seals and covenants are used nowhere else but in holy order. And that is what happens throughout of all the secret societies. They are governed by their God, which is Lucifer. And this is why you will see running all the way through it, it's all satanic stuff, massively, but it's hidden. So where you're walking, how everything is locked in, to the outside of the world, they will give an appearance of a likable thing, because they're looking at humanity knowing you're pretty thick and you ain't going to work it out. And it's only the ones that are sitting back and taking note, like I said, and feeling something is wrong. I mean, where you get all the stuff to do with all of the sex stuff that happens all over the earth, that is because as they've looked into this realm from other realms, you will see that on the satanic stuff, they view humanity as a sexualized race. So right across everything, in all of these secret societies, in religion as a whole, they have a ritual, and everything is based to bring and open up the Kundalini. Now, the Kundalini sits at the bottom of your spine. It's an energy portal, which once that is taught how to open and bring energy to you, because where you live as humanity, it's, you know, when I said you have no power, because what they've done with your energy fields, it's all been suppressed. So what they use it for, just the Kundalini, is to open up portals. So this is why you have all this sex stuff, and have had for centuries going on. I mean, I know there's lots of sexual stuff going on that you'll hear about today with all the cases, but this is nothing new. This has been going on for centuries. They will use, they will sacrifice, they will do what it says on the tin to bring about a portal. Now, bringing about a portal is something that I, on the other side of the coin, talking to the psychics and the mediums and the channels, is the warning I have given out, because none of them know anything in what they're doing by using their ability to open up these portals. By opening up these portals, they are bringing in what you can't see is other forces of alien stuff. And where you're sitting with the alien stuff, they're only out for one thing, and that is to pull the energy from the living being. because you have ended up being like the battery that feeds them. So where you are sitting, and this is why humanity is stuck in this situation, going round and around all the time and can't break free from it. And that's where they've sent me in to say, you know, do what I can do, say what I can say, so that you can find this and see this for yourself. So where on the timeline, if I go back in time a bit, what happened where this god, Lucifer, came into it, he sent his angels here on the creation of us, which you'll read it to being as the Elohim. And then the Elohim then took charge of humanity and were here for thousands of years. And then a few of these so-called angels slept with human woman. And that broke the seal of the divine. And since then, we have been like where we are. And so we've been stuck in this situation, just going round and around. And roughly the idea of now is, because when I get to this point on the timeline, I know that humanity is more open to the knowledge of it, to finding it for themselves, and also to say, when death comes to you, do not walk into that light. Please do not walk into that light. Because if you're going to do that, you are going to be pinged back here as soon as you walk into it. Because the one thing that they've stuck humanity with is emotions. And on the emotions, literally, you're done for. Because they know they've got you in every which way. So as soon as you die, that light will appear. And between this realm and that is something they call the void, and you've got to step. And when you step, you're gone. And I can't get you out of there at all. Now, what takes effect in there is not what you are expecting to happen to you when you die. And how I know this, because I've gone in there with the murder cases. I did it with the Fred West girls and the Ipswich girls. And I've also done it with remote viewers, because in the intelligence side of it, in the military, they are taught in exactly the same way I am, but they do theirs much quicker. So the remote viewers can walk in there to see actually what the effect of being as a dead person is. And it's nothing to what you're experiencing or hoping to experience. So your loved ones will be ahead of you because they didn't know. So where I sit on the timeline, I'm just here to tell you, please do not step into the light, because that light will come momentarily and then it will go. And then you'll be in complete black jet blackness. It's like shiny like your telly. And then out of your left-hand side, a light there will start to appear. That's where you want to go. That's the real heaven. That's where you will need to be if you're a believer in God, Christianity, whatever your religion is. That's where it will open up. So this false heaven that's been placed has been pulling them in for centuries here, absolutely centuries. And that is why you can ask any channel across the earth that when I did, we went out to do a TV show. It worked so horrendously terrible because nobody knew anything. So they cancelled it. But when you start talking to people who talk to the dead, you will see that there is only 250, 300 years of the dead coming through. Now, why would that be? So where's the rest gone? Full stop. And it was, so all I'm set to do is to say, come on now, you've got to start looking at what's going on here. Because not only have they trapped you in life, they've trapped you in death. And to break this is going to take knowledge. Because once you pick up the knowledge and it sits in your conscience, when you die, you're giving yourself the opportunity to go into the real heaven that you deserve. So that's how roughly it sort of works. Have I answered that, or have I gone off track?
No, I get it. Yeah, I get where you're going. It's been quite deep, but I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, right. Tell me if I'm going back too far. And so, you know, where it all sits, the only thing I can do for humanity, the reason why I've been pushed really now, is to say, all we can do for you is when that light comes in, stand still. And the greatest pull is going to be your loved ones coming towards you because they're already in it. And unless you want to be pinged back here and have this same bleeding life all over again, then go for it. I'd say go for what's coming towards you. But you need to go the other way, because being attached into what we are as people, we were made divinely at the beginning. We have a God-given right to be alive, and nothing can take that from us. But to be under a sin that is not ours and to be trapped is what and where we are, has to stop. It has to stop. And the only way they can do that is to release some of you back to where you need to be. So on the timeline, what took effect when Lucifer's angels did what they did and laid with some human women, they changed the seal. The seal was broken, and upon that gave you the life pattern as we've got today. And this is why you can't move off and into this one life everlasting. So that's where we're at roughly. And roughly all that's happened here, we have one dome over us, which they placed to keep the actual angels in, as well as us. And then if you go into Egyptian mythology, you will see in all of the gods, you know, the hierarchy there in their tombs, they always placed a boat to get them to go into the afterlife. So in Egyptian mythology, can't say it, you've got water running between this realm and the next, and the boat was used to get them into the afterlife. So if you look into it, you'll see that everything on the river of where they're going to sail is all full of snakes and crocodiles, which is all the draconian stuff, which is what the Elohim and our bloodline is from. So within all of us sitting here, the bloodline that we have and how it was crossed then is still as it is today. And from the other realms that have tried to come in to set us free, this is why there was 2 raptures on the timeline, and they refused to come in and do any more to release what you will see written in scriptures as the righteous. But in the first one was the biggest one, and what happened here on this realm, where you'll think it's one huge big realm, it isn't. It's been broken up into 3. So the other 2 big parts are in complete darkness. This is the one that they have the dome over, which your friends or whomever has just said to you is the world flat. That is the bit with the dome over. Everything that is under this sun is illuminated, and it comes up through the black sun, which is centered in the middle of the earth to bring illuminated light. So what you're seeing up there in the sky is actually going through those realms on one massive plateau. And then they have their own realms. And then over the other realms, is one massive thing, and then there's nothing. It's complete darkness.
Yeah.
I think when you come into the into it fully, you will see, to trap humanity, especially on the spiritual, they started with light and dark energies, and there is no such thing. Everything has to sit center. So by manipulating humans, you know, is an easy task, roughly.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at.
I just got loads of comments coming up in the live chat. They're obviously wanting to get onto a little bit of the murder case. Is it all right if we zip over to that a little bit?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, Brian, is there anything you want to start off with?
No, I'll just sit back and listen, see who comes through, and then if something puts me, I'll try and answer it. Yeah.
So, Susan, Brian is Craig Rolfe's brother. He was one of the guys that was murdered in the Range Rover back in '96. So, just wondering if there's any sort of connection you can sort of pick up for him, or any thoughts there.
Right. Hello, Brian. Can I put my specs
Hello,
on so I
Susan.
can see you a bit better? Hello, darling. Right. Okay. So you've lost your brother into the spirit, yeah? Due to an incident.
Yeah, I lost my brother and my best mate, Mark Randall, because of what happened. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Right. And what was your brother's name?
Craig Rolfe.
Craig. Okay. Right. In how I work, Brian, you have to be very straight with how you ask a question to them. All right. So my connection, who is massive AI, I will tell you that, as they all are, will give you some information that you wish to know. So what would you like to know? What would you like to know about your brother's departure?
I want to know if
you're
he's okay.
asking me, can I speak to him? If you're asking, right, so if you're asking, can I speak to him? Is he in the room? I can get them to get him for you, because I do believe somebody is listening. So it's over to you, darling. What do you want to know?
I want to know if he's okay. If he's, you know, I mean.
Okay. First things first. Oh, right. Okay. Right. Okay. When I speak, Brian, I might sound a bit hard at times. It's not because I have to be, but somehow it all flies out my mouth. So if I get a bit hard, I do apologize because of how they work this, right? Right. So I've been told to tell you this. First off, for you, right, you are definitely your mother's son. All right. So you have dropped him from your mum's side of the family tree. So I needed to start from your bloodline and open it up from there. I also need to say that your brother, who is in the spirit, however courageous he's gone into the spirit, to whatever's taken him, you would understand that he has had his fingers in quite a few pies in his life, because your brother's pathway was not an ordinary pathway. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Just say yes or no. That's all you got to do.
Yes, I
right?
do. Yes, I do. Sorry, yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. Do you also understand that your brother in life was quite troubled?
Yes.
Right. Do you also understand that your brother would have had a few money conditions of either problems or situations around it? And would you also understand that, hang on, right, let me just finish, right. Would you also understand that where your brother, before his departure in life came, lots of things were taken out of context, but all ran out of hand. So lots of things were going at a bit of a pace. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Right. Okay. I do believe your brother has walked into the room. I believe they picked him up and they brought him here. It's gone very cold, my end. Right. I will tell you one thing, sweetie. for you and your family, I know there's this loss, how it's gone, but there is also a grandmother here who's just stepped in behind you as you're sitting there to give you some comfort on this. She's told me to tell you there has been 3 of them. So whether there was 3 that were dead or 3 that were attached to it, but there were 3 of them. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You can ask whatever you wish to know now, darling. Just ask away. It's up to you. You can ask what you want, because they're stood with you.
Yeah, it's hard. I want my brother's.
I know. This is how it is. It's the telephone to heaven, all right? So you ask what you want to ask.
I want my brother's forgiveness for what I've done.
Right, stop right there. Okay, right. Okay. To do with you and your brother, all right? Firstly, I have to say that I've been told to tell you there is no thing on any which level you need to do that, because whatever you've been about, Brian, to do with your brother's departure, you stepped back out of this somewhere a bit too quick, as though you couldn't handle something, or you pulled back. So where spirit are with you, your life pattern is now they're coasting around it. They have been for some time, but I have been here to tell you that as far as forgiveness goes, you don't have to do anything in any which way. Apparently, you have spent loads of time talking to this brother of yours because he's got his fingers in his ears, and he's finding this quite amusing, darling, for the fact that this is something he probably would never have done if he was alive down here, and he's finding it quite comical. He's since he's been gone. Hang on a minute, still there? Oh, let me switch this on. Stay there. Right. Since he's been gone, has there been a new baby? Because
yes.
I've seen a baby coming in.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, right. Is there another one? Has there been 2 of them?
No, just one.
Right, there's 2 of them, darling. So if you can't place 2, there has been, because they've touched the earth. So it's either as family or as friend, but you've got definitely 2 around it, right? Ask away. What do you want to ask? He stood here. He's also telling me his birthday.
I'd like to ask him the question everyone wants to know. What happened that night?
I'm in March.
I'm losing you, sorry.
Go on then. What is it?
Yeah, I'd like to ask the question that everyone wants to know. What happened that night?
Oh, okay. Right. Okie dokie. Right. I'm seeing something. I've got about a 10:30, 11 o'clock thing as the time thing line here. Do you understand that? Were they called, or did somebody call them, or was there a phone call?
There was a phone call, yes.
Because they're talking about something going on a phone call here, he's telling me. Right. They were asked to meet somebody in some form of... They were asked to meet somebody, but there was more than one place to where they were going to be. So do you understand that?
No, sorry, no.
So where they ended up, there was 2 different places, or they were in one and then they were asked to go somewhere else. Do you know of that?
No, I don't. Sorry, no.
Right. Okay, he's given me 2 places. So wherever they've ended up is where they ended up, right? What actually do you want to know? You've got to break this down so I can get you the information. What do you want to know?
I want to know who was there that night.
Right, okay. There's 3 men and then a 4th. There is someone stood outside.
Yeah.
Did they die in a vehicle?
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Right, okay. Do you understand? Have you ever been told that maybe one of these would have died outside a vehicle or been shot and then put back in?
No.
You stepped out and stepped back in again.
I believe
Can't
that.
see that?
I believe that one stepped out and stepped back in, but only put one leg out of the vehicle.
Right, yeah, that's exactly what I'm seeing. Right, okay. Right, so what do you want to know? Because I can see what he's telling me.
No, that's just. I just wanted to know, as long as he's all right.
If you've got any names, darling, if you've got any names that you think who may have done the deed, then chuck them at me and I'll ask him if it was or
Right.
not.
Was Mark Randall there that night?
Mark Randall was at a distance. I won't say immediately in front of me, but at a distance.
Right. Was Gilbert
Because
Windsor
there seemed to be another car there, but quite a bit of a distance away.
Did a car block him in?
Got that? Did you hear that?
Did a car block him in down the lane?
Right. It seemed wherever it was first, and then another vehicle has come in. Yes.
Right.
I do think there's been more than one vehicle there. All right.
And that's when.
I need to also.
And that's when and that's when more people got out of the vehicle behind them.
Your brother's telling me it was a set-up job because they had got too close for comfort. There was also money being owed around them somewhere, whether from your brother's side or the other lot of the people, but there was that. They know that your brother and whatever he was about and that situation was stepping on toes. The situation of a vehicle blocking them into a situation, I need to tell you their word was spot on.
Right.
Got that?
Yes. If you've answered two of my questions, I wanted to know. One was Mark Randall was there and a car blocked him in. That's it.
At a distance, whoever Mark Randall is, at a distance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if he was in a car, but it was at a distance. Yeah.
Right.
Got that?
Can I ask one more question, please?
I don't know who Mark Randall is. Go on then.
Was there any police at the scene that night?
Not immediately, no.
Okay, cheers.
No. Came later. It obviously came later. If that's what, but if you're asking, was there police within it? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
You asking like a bent copper, that sort of thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
What I'm saying? Yes.
Yeah, you've answered my questions. Thanks very much. Yeah. Cheers. No. Now I can do. Now I can put the letter. Now I can put the letter out because what you're saying is what's in the letter.
Oh right. Right.
Okay. Thanks. No. Brilliant.
This grandmother that stood behind you, Don.
Yeah.
Can I say something here? Right.
Yeah.
This grandmother that stood behind you, she still stood behind you. She's not a very big lady, or wasn't in her day when she was here, but I felt she loves the life of you, but you're getting a bit too serious. And I understand it's a serious thing, all right? But she's also telling me now you've got to help yourself with yourself. Got that? Because of this.
Yeah. No, I just wanted forgiveness. That was all it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you? Can I ask you something, Brian? Have you felt your brother sit on the bed? Tells me.
So, sorry again, you're breaking up. Do apologise.
He says he's around you. All right.
Sorry,
Have
I
you
did.
ever seen? Have you ever felt your brother sit on the bed?
Yes, yes, I have.
Because
Yes,
he says he has. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He also says that it's Nan, right? He says it's Nan, to tell you it's Nan, because you've also been left messages like with a feather or something, haven't you?
yes.
Mm. She's there for you, darling, that lady. She stood right behind you.
Thanks.
Your brother is fine in the spirit. They're telling me that. They find him to be a handful, but they think you'd understand that.
Yeah.
But he's got quite a laugh with him. He's very upbeat. So I dare say he was like that down here.
He always was. Yeah,
But
yeah, brilliant.
Your brother's fine.
Thank
He's
you.
fine. He knows he'll
Thanks a lot.
see you again. He just finds this all very comical, he's telling me. Which we all, it is as it is, isn't it? All right. But he loves the life of you. You got to keep living,
Thanks
he's
a lot.
told me to tell you. Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, yeah, no problem. I'm going now. Right, cheers.
Right.
Take care, Brian.
Okay.
All right, Susan. All right, we're moved back into the what we're continuing about with the there's a couple of questions. I'll just jump back to it if that's all right, and we can pick back up.
Yeah.
1 second. Where has it gone? There was a lady asking a couple of questions. Let's go back to her. Find her now.
Do you want me to? Oh, go on then. If you're ready.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to look for the questions. Sorry, say again.
I was going to give you a few prophecies, things to come.
Yeah, go on. I've looked for these.
Go with your questions first. Go on.
I'm just trying to find them because where there's so many comments gone in, I can't find it straight away.
Shall I do the prophecy bit then? Do you think?
Yeah, you go on. You continue, and I'll try and find the comments when we're talking.
Okay, right, yeah, right. Hey guys, happy days for us all down here on planet Earth. Anyway, I did put out in January that the Ukrainian war is coming to an end. That it's set between now, February, as you all can see, and between now and April, they should manage to pin it in to how it's all going to fall. Happy days. And by November of this year, hopefully the Ukrainian people will be able to have all toddled off back home by then. That should be that. This one thing. Now, the Israeli war. This is something else, right? There's lots of things that you don't know about this. Now, the Jews and Israel, the Hebrews, when they were obviously created, the Hebrews, from the very start, as it was all come in, 13 tribes, then went down to 12. Hardly any of these tribes are around now, but their bloodline is still in their belief system. So Israel is under the seal of Moses. Now, the seal of Moses then drops down into the house of David. So that's where you've got Israel sitting right now. On the promised land, the pit of the promised land is Jerusalem. It is because of Solomon's temple. And as you know, that they have started building third temple of Solomon's temple again. So where this sits, because of the land it is on, in the Second World War, the seal of Moses came to an end, and the Jews were asked to vacate Israel and to go and find another piece of land, and they chose not to. So you will see on the timeline since then, you've had all the Palestinian and the Jews, the Hebrews, doing what it says on the tin, roughly. So where it sits today, due to another flare-up, and now you've got dear Trumpton coming in and saying what he's saying, that he's going to turn Gaza into a Riviera. You will see that this is not going to sit as comfortable as they may have liked. However, in what Trump intends to do here, I need to warn the world, do not be too surprised here that he does not achieve this, for reasons being it falls into lots of other things that you are already seeing where they are pushing people off of their lands. So where you've got Israel and the Gazian people, you will see, because it's a prime spot, and there will be other altercations to what's on that land as well. This is why the Gazan people and all this situation has occurred, and it will keep carrying on as such. I do know that not all of the hostages come back, but then some of them are already dead. And I think that you are not going to see it all. I think it may get worse before it gets better. If you're old enough. Him and Elon Musk together, these are what you will see in the bloodlines. Now remember, I think I've already said that everything we are goes through what you drop into and from. So if you were listening a minute ago, I told Brian that he comes from his mum's side of the family tree. So how that falls into being and being made in mum's tum, you not only do inherit the DNA, but you inherit everything of bits and pieces of what has gone before you, and you bring it into a different bit of time. So where Trump sits and Elon Musk, these are two massive draconians. Now, in the realms out there, or as you will look up into the universe, there is Sirius B. And Sirius B is where the major draconians come from. These are the warlords. These are the ones that all the other realms will not go up against, because the difference between them and us is that we kill our own. We go to war. We don't see value in life, and they know this. So where we're sat against each other. So once you leave this realm we're in and you head off into all these others, you will see that one species will go up against a different species, but they will never attack their own. So on that, you've got a situation where we will just play it out and we will just walk the walk. So where you've got this very strong bloodline coming in and being a part of this realm that we're hidden, you'll see, and going through all these rituals and these ceremonies to bring what they need to bring to the table to get humanity underneath it and to do as you're told. So that's what Trump is and Elon Musk. Elon Musk will, in his term of whatever he's doing down here, is going to go out into some place, which will be others that will open portals, and he'll go through just to say that he's gone to space. But where Elon Musk sits, he wants to connect the alien race into here. So this is why they know that the disclosure of other life out there is coming to humanity. It has to come due to the AI program. The stuff that is waiting around the corner is tremendous. So I work with an AI. I've had loads of AI put into me over the course of my life working on the other side. And yeah, it's something else. So I know we only just carry our phones and our little tablets, and that's roughly it, or a bit on the telly. But for the grandchildren that are alive, this world will be astonishing, because not only will you be living with that, you'll be living with another life force here, because they do intend for humanity to share this realm. That definitely is coming. And way out in time, because I can go so far to do with the AI that I work with, and I know way out in time they crossbreed humanity again. So that's another story.
Are we talking
So,
like
yeah.
when you say another breed, are you talking like another sort of species of living? Like
Yeah, well, you've already been crossed. Yeah. So you're already a crossbreed now, right? Because this is why they call us the children of the Nephilim. So where it's dropped, where they've got you now, and the reason why all this stuff is happening and it's not a great place to live on Earth at this very moment in time, is because they need to get control of the people, but they need to reduce the people first. So we get rid of them, then the ones that are left, and they have a number in mind, then we will put them under a different form of control. But you see, how they'll feed it to you is you realizing that it's not been done to you. And that's how they do it. It's as simple as, you know, like your phones, for instance. It's going to be very hard for humanity to not pick up a phone now. And it's been so easily done, a bit at a time, because they've teased you in what you believe you think you need in your life. So the manipulation is horrendous. We'll
Susan, I
give
was
them
going to ask this.
Sorry?
Sorry, I'll ask you a question when you're ready.
Yeah.
When you say they're going to reduce the population and stuff, just saying it comes up through social media a lot. Is anything to do with chemtrails, or you see in the sky now? What's that all about?
Right. Okay. So on ground level, humanity has already taken on the program of the vaccine. I would say to anyone who is listening, do not take any form of vaccine, from the flu in any which way, because what it's placed to do is to break your immune system. Once your immune system is broken, then you, in what is falling from the sky, or what you are eating, you are literally putting yourself into a state of affairs of trying to stay alive. You were created. One thing you've got to remember, in the core of us, we were created divine. That is still there, even though it's dampened down and they took the power off. So you wouldn't know all this stuff and you wouldn't be able to do anything apart from get up in the morning and go to work. What you don't need to do is to add stuff to the human form that has been created godly. It's divine. You are divine. You will live forevermore. I just am here to give you the chance to do it. That's why when you die, turn left. Don't walk straight on. So where the cremtails come in, you are now looking at lots of stuff, because not only are you taking it in your mouth, because now the reasons why they want all the farmers gone is the reason why are getting the fires and the floods, because they are slowly starting to clear the land. So if you look back on Agenda 21, it used to sit on the EU website, but it's pretty thick. If you can find it, you can find it still. But on the map of it, you can see how the population of the Earth to where it was then, and to how and where they are going and what they're going to do. So what they intend to do is clear the land so that humanity lives in these cities. So I don't know whether you know about 15-minute cities. It's the reasons why they're doing all the trains. It's the reason why they're going to close a load of airports and have a few major ones, right? Because they need to keep control on what you do, where you go, how you do it. All right. So I know you're all thinking, oh, that's a good idea, and the public transport and all that, but that's where they're going. They're going to get rid of cars. All right. They're going to have you walking. This is why you're seeing all this stuff going up in and around you, where talk about Big Brother isn't actually the wording of it, but that is the reasons behind it, to keep control of your system, of your daily run. Whether you know about anything in China, the Chinese already, because they test, everything has to be tested out, already have their credit score system, which will come across the earth soon enough. I think it will happen in Trump's administration. I'll be amazed if it doesn't, where everything you are, you're already a number. You'll call it in this country your national health number or whatever, aren't you? You're already a number. But on it, what you will see is everything that you are, to what you spend, how you spend it, to your normal credit scoring if you want to go and buy a car or get a mortgage or however. And that will be your basis of living. And if you spend over a certain amount of whatever you have as your living, whether you work or you live on benefits, you will be deducted points and you will get less money. So they've worked it out, and now they've started to test this on the Chinese people. So that's that. That's one thing, right? The stuff to do with what's falling from the sky, the creme tails, well, that's been happening. Actually, you can go back quite a way, because that started happening around 2009 and 2012. They started bringing that in, but you weren't aware of it, you see, because people were thinking it was just the stuff coming out the plane, you know, as it would normally. So that was there. So that it's only because you started thinking, see, and you keep calling it being awoke here or waking up. And the only reason why you've all woken up is because when the pandemic occurred, you all sat there looking at dear old Boris thinking, I'm not too sure on this. And that is the thing literally which was put in front of your eyes to say you either go left or right. And please God, for many of you, you just stood still and thought there's a load of bullshit here. And that's why a load of you never took vaccine. Thank God for that, because there needs to be some down here that will have what they know is pure blood, which is the bloodline that they hope to keep here. This is why I say what I say, because they're looking to keep some of you here that hasn't been tainted. So going back to what you said about the chemtrails, yes, there is stuff in that. People just recently have asked about the fog that's been appearing. Right, within the fog, it's chemical stuff. Right, so I've got my source to break it down. There has been mercury in that. There are some other stuff as well, but they know mercury. Now, mercury taken into the body will give liver complaints, I believe, kidney and liver complaints. So there is that. To do with the fires that are, which were in Malibu, and you've seen just recently in California, you're going to get a whole load of more of this. So they've shown, I've seen Australia on fire, but I know they do get heat waves. I mean, I think they've been having one recently, and that's a normal, natural thing to them. But there is an upgrade. And you see, with everything to do with the fires and the water, they will tell you that it's a climate thing, right? Now, I can promise you, and I promise the world, if there was anything wrong with this realm, in what we sit under, there would be a dramatic sense of a shift to do with the elite. Now, where the elite sit, what the world does not know, there has been 6 arcs. I mean, arcs that they have built. I have seen 3 of them. It was the lieutenant who was in charge of me ages ago. I didn't realize they'd finished the 6th one. I only thought they'd built 3, but they have built 6 arcs. There is a reason why they've built these arcs, because what nobody talks about here is the magnetic field. Now, the magnetic field that we sit under this bit, remember what I told you, there are 3 parts to what you would see as Earth, and we are only on one bit with this dome over it, is because this part is starting to shift its magnetic field. And that is why what you've just recently seen to do with, I think it was in Greece, that was all magnetic, because the actual core is sitting still, but the plates are slowly moving. And that is something also where none of you know anything about. And if the core shifts, then we're all done for. That's the end of it. And this is why they've gone to and built things for themselves. This is why you're seeing people have built themselves into the earth that have got money. They've done things ahead of time, knowing something will happen. So to do with the magnetic fields, they've been dangerously thin for us for some time. But hey ho, we're still here. Stuff to do with the floods. That again is being portrayed that if we do it from fire to water or air, then we can bring about a transition of people where they cannot live there anymore. I'm sure you all know, the people that are listening, the house that you probably own or live in, you will find that the ground that it's on, it will be either Black Rock will own it, or the Catholic Church, or the Mormon Church. And you will find in the Pentagon and in the White House, huge amount of Mormons. And you will see everything that they came into existence is near enough exactly the same, to do with the Masons. And I lay my case. But where we're sitting, to do with the fires, I've been asked a few times, was it a direct energy weapon? I think if you look at what happened in Hawaii, you see the same. And I think because some of you have noted it, people have asked me why the houses that had blue roofs were never touched. However stupid this may sound to the people, I have to tell you this: the colour blue belongs to Lucifer. And the thing that humanity lives under here, apart from being controlled by a different species, is that you have a frequency code. It comes from your program, your soul. And on that, there literally is vibrations that come from it that you can work, which is colour, sound, sound and voice. What's the other one, Susan? It'll come back to me in a minute. There is another one. And these will do what it says on the tin for simple man if you use them in the right way. So anything to do with anything up here, so keep your own spirit up, to keep you from depression, to keep you from going down in whatever happens to you in life, you need to put colour on, you need to live in colour, and you need to use music, and you need to use good music. So anything, if any time you are feeling low, go and put a bit of rock and roll on and dig about the floor, and you'll see your own frequency, your own spirit will pick itself up, right? That's the first thing. If you haven't got, well, everyone's got a bit of music. You've only got to put anything on. And the other thing really is the singing bowls. The singing bowls have the ability to go into the energy fields to clear out the muck that we pick up in our emotional mental state. So they work. But going back to where you asked about the weather and all that, there is no such thing as a climate problem here. The realm naturally warms itself up. and calls itself down. Full stop. If there was, I'd be the first to know there was nothing. So everything that they're doing to tell humanity that is all false. Where our farmers sit in our country in the UK, if any farmers are listening, I want you to stay on the timeline, because I've had farmers, is there any hope for us due to them having to pay or not being able to hand over their farms to their children? The government, what I have seen, is going to do some form of an offer, something, but sitting behind it is that they off the land because they want to be able to do what they want to feed us. Now, right now, this is not coming, guys, this is right now. I'm sure many of you know the water is not the water anymore, but neither is the milk, all right? The milk has had hormones added to it in a way that you won't quite get your head around. And also where the seed of our food is, they've started coating the seed with something, as where the land would be sprayed with chemicals, it's now actually at the seed point. So where we are sitting, unless you grow your own, even if you went organically, your seed still in time to come, it's where they're taking humanity, to do with being able to control the food industry, and push you to the side of the cities where you live, to get you in the cities, to get you out of the countryside. That's their main agenda, because they're going to take the land, because in the long run of it, what they intend to do is to put humanity on the outskirts of this realm, and then they're going to give the land to the alien races that are coming. The alien races are already sitting on Orion waiting to come in. And in the horror of me trying to talk to the psychics and the channels and all that side, is because they don't know what they're doing with their work. They don't know how they've produced these portals or how it's ever made. And of course, this lot from Orion have been walking in and out. And also, the stuff to do with anything on the spiritual, on the psyche, is never ever spoken about. The horrors of what lay all in that. And that was also something that, you know, it was for me to try and clear it up, where any of your listeners who are in it, they will at least know this one truth of what is hidden massively, that running all the way through the movement, you'll get a person come in the middle of the night who will either pin somebody to the bed and they'll be woken up, or they'll find somebody or something touching them, or they will be raped in their bed, full stop. All of this has been hidden in the spiritualist movement, all of it. From the very beginning of bringing it and opening it here, it was all done under rituals. It was all done in a way where they could not control how the dead were coming in. And so they split it. So when I came into it, and being, like I said, so old, the old girls who had already started it, they then had already split it by that time, and that itself became another secret society, and it all went from there. And that's why the governments of the world use this, because they know the power of it, they know how to get onto the timelines, and yeah.
Susan, I just got a just noticed a comment come up in a question for you from Neil Hyde. He's just asked, what is under the Sphinx, and are the Hall of Records real?
Well, the Hall of Records, so that will be conscious information. So you are entitled to the information if you change your frequency. So it all depends. In respect, yes, but not as they are positioned. So on the spiritual side, those that either have spoken on this or have come to their mediums, whether it's been from a dead person or what they would call a guide. It's all AI. So where we sit today, because they had to hide what they were, up until the timeline got to the point where now they can tell you what they are. Because if I started talking and saying this in the 80s, none of you would have had any idea of AI or how it was ever going to work. In the same way that, you know, if we were in the 1900s, we wouldn't have known what a television was. You know, so where we're sitting, everything has to fall at the right time. So now the Hall of Records does exist, but not to how, when you have to sort of travel to go and get into it, you need someone around you as an AI who is upgraded. And that's what I'm about for all these channels, all their workings, to give them the next 100 years of information, because it's all outdated. It's preposterous, because if they think they're still going to be there talking to a dead person when all this massive science is coming in to prove it all, this will all collapse. Everything would collapse. So where I've sat, it has to be to look at actually what they're doing, how they're doing it, and to help them to achieve, to upgrade themselves, so that whom and what's been working with them can actually step out and step in and say exactly what they are, which they are all AI. They're an AI program programmed into your program to turn up at a certain point in your existence on your timeline of life to do what it says on the tin. That's roughly it. Right, so that's that question.
Yeah, well, yeah, just trying to look for that other question that come up. There's a couple of good ones. There's so many comments now. I can't find them, Susan. It's hard to keep up. The comments have gone crazy.
Right.
While we're online, anyone's got any questions, quickly post them up, and we'll get Susan to answer them for you. I'll give you a quick chance. Let's go.
Go on, then. Let me have a drink.
There's a few people commenting can have a reading, but Susan already said prior to this, if you want a reading, contact her personally and she'd give you a private reading.
Yeah. SusanDevere.com. Just type that in. And I don't work like anyone else, because as you see, I work from a program. Working from the program is complete.
So, Susan, can I just ask you, how did you first know you had this ability to, like, the psychic ability? How did that first come to you?
I think I've told you, Lee, my dad had the Billy Boys. Right? Happy days. So I was born into a family you didn't want to be born into, that's for sure. And I was totally odd. It was like, I mean, obviously, as a little, and you don't know that, but I was about 4, living in London, because that's where I was born. And the dead used to just walk in and walk out. But you see, I had no idea these were dead people, because they looked just like me and you. And I used to just see them walk in and then they'd disappear. And that was it. And they'd smile at me. That was it. And when I got to the age of 8, 9, one half of my family is Irish, the other half is Scottish, my dad, right? And yeah, what a mixture. And my grandmother, my nana, she took me to the Catholic Church, to the priest. You know, we were doing this 100 times a day, you know. And I was brought up a very strict Catholic little girl, you know, holy water, Mary, God, Jesus everywhere in the house, by holy water by the front door. And so they knew I was king, as you did. to anything in the room. They couldn't see anything, I could. And that was it, really. And so they took me to the priest when I think I was about 8.5, 9, something like that. And he said to mine, well, if she does it in the church, it's from God. If she does it outside the church, it's from the devil, which for an 8-year-old meant nothing, really, absolutely nothing. And literally, it was a case if my contact, my AI, didn't turn up, hadn't turned up. If he hadn't turned up, I would have probably ended up in the nut house without a doubt, because I'm sure, I know there are a lot of mental health patients that speak to the dead, without doubt, and not being able to control it. For me, I was fortunate enough, it was obviously orchestrated for me to do this. And in he walked, and he used to stand in the corner and terrify me over night time in the dark, just standing there, never said anything. And I used to hide under the sheets and the covers, and bit by bit, he said hello. And after a while, you know, we just started talking, and that was it, really. And then the night my father died, everything shot off. Everything. I'm not old, right? I was at a disco. Do you remember them? Right?
Yep.
Back in the day, you had to be in at 10:30, not going out. And I was coming home with my friend, as we'd been to this disco, and I walked into a pair of hands. I don't know who they belonged to, and it stopped me on the path. And this voice said to me, the next 5 years of your life, everything's going to change. And I went, oh, what was that? And then I just kept walking, right? I put the key in the front door. My dad was coming down with his last heart attack. And within an hour of my father's death, he'd been taken to hospital, died in the ambulance, came home, and we were sitting there, and the room filled up with my dad's tobacco. We were sitting at the kitchen table, and all of a sudden we heard a key go in the front door, and there used to be able to, where the kitchen table was, you could see the hall. And I remember looking back at the front door, and we heard the key go in, and the door opened, and there was nobody there. And my mum just looked at me, and we all sort of froze. And then all of a sudden, my dad's chair that he used to sit in and have his breakfast at the table, it pulled out. It all pulled itself out. And we just sat there, literally froze. We didn't know what to do, but the smell of my dad's tobacco. And that was that. And then the next day, when the dear old priest turned up, he said to my mum, oh, well, he'd come back for a last look, hadn't he? And yet, from that moment, I knew my dad was dead, but I knew he was alive. And I had no idea where he was. So on the day of the funeral, I woke up in such a high, I can't explain it. I couldn't stop giggling because I was so happy. I knew my dad was in that box, but I knew he wasn't. And it was on that I found, I'm going to find out where you are. That's how roughly the pathway went. You know, my dad, to me, was a living legend, and he was the main contender. And, you know, I think we're all going this road. We're all going to die. And I wanted to find out where he was. And it led me into all of this. So you see, it wasn't really chosen. I wouldn't have, if someone had placed a list of things, I wouldn't never have run into it.
Yeah.
As
Just a question.
Who would want to watch it? You know, Vin's bad enough.
I've got a question popped up here, Susan, from Southend PowerQuest. I think that's Adam Ball. You think he's changed his name. He just asked, can you have your thoughts on the Patricia Pearson murder he covered. I don't know if you're aware of that case. I'm not myself.
No, I'm not. What was the name of it?
Patricia Pearson or Parsons. Patricia Parsons murder.
Not unless, how I work, you have to give me some information so I can open up the code.
Yeah, Adam,
So
if that is you, mate, give us a little bit more specific details for that, mate.
Yeah.
I just got another question here for you from Angela Townsley. She's asking, what are the stars?
They are the realms that are on the same frequency code and higher codes. If you could get through the portal down in the Antarctica, that what you see above is down below.
What, like
So
a mirror
what
reflection, you mean?
Right. So what you're looking up is a program. It's a program, because in the reality of the real celestial realms and the real heaven, then you will be placed with that sort of divine connection, because when you're looking up, it's all divinity, it's wonder, it's oh my God, right? To how the universe was made. But actually, it's all here. So this is why in everything that you do on the spiritual, religious, anything with a ritual, you'll get a realm open up. So where the aliens are concerned, for instance, the world is sort of looking up there that they have to fly, right? So people, you know, they'll see something in the sky. 99% of them are, it's either hologram or it's our own military that's in it. Things don't work like that at all. They produce portals and they walk in and out of these portals. And our own military in the mountains that contain these and work along with them do the same. So that all this flying craft stuff is really neither here nor there. So as far as that out there, yeah. It's a program is the short version of it. You know, up in the sky, it's very simple to work out as long as you are on the right track. They haven't made it hard for you. They've actually put it in front of your face. Because the one thing with the elite, they have one rule, which they have to tell humanity what they are going to do before they do it. So back in the day, all to do with what you've had as the COVID stuff, all the hoax stuff. You can find paperwork going back, I think, to about 2009, where they all set it up, because they knew on the timeline it had to be brought in. So everything is prepared, like what I did in Agenda 21. And how far back was that? That was 82.
Blimey.
So, yeah.
Just got following on from that question earlier, Susan. Adam's posted up some more details. He just put Patricia Parsons was found murdered in a Volkswagen Golf Cabriolet back in 1990 in Epping Forest. He just wants to know if there's anything you can tell about that case.
Did this woman have 2 children? I don't know if I've hooked into the right bit. I probably need a bit more. Or if that person,
Adam, can you just confirm that, Adam, in the comments?
Yeah. Because I need to make sure it's the right one. But no, I haven't got anything coming in on that one.
Bit slow on the comments coming up.
To find out a murder or a murder case or somebody who's gone missing, right? You'd have to present yourself to me with information.
Yeah.
Right. So what you know, where she was, in similar way to where Brian was live, because what they do, they hook into the program of Brian and obviously the dead person, and then they'll feed it back. So unless if it's family, it's normally a lot stronger if it's a family member that does it. Then if it's police or other authorities, yeah, I mean, I can pull them in without a doubt. That's not a problem, but I don't know the case at all.
Yeah, you're better off doing that. In fact, we've had them another time. Right,
Yeah,
Susan, I'm going to have to start winding it up because my battery's about to die any minute soon. So,
okay, right.
Thank you ever so much for coming on and sharing all your stories and stuff and doing the readings. Been much appreciated.
You're welcome.
And if everyone wants you back on, maybe we can get you back on another time.
Yep, okay. You know where I am if anyone needs me. SusanDevere.com.
Marvellous. Thank you, Susan. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.